Hey everybody, this is Andrew the Moo, and I want to do another review for you. Today we want to talk a little bit about Comix Zone. Now, before I get into the game itself, let me talk about the first time I ever played it, alright? When I was a teenager, my mother owned her own franchise business. She had her own Subway. It was a fast food establishment, of course, and I was one of the employees there. It was my first job opportunity. And I mentioned that to mention this PC we had in the back office. It was the business computer. And I mean that as loosely as I can. It was the air quotes, strictly for business computer. But despite that fact, and the fact that my mother and her business partner had no idea how to uninstall programs, there were 3 games on this PC that I enjoyed playing when I was on break or when I was at the business for whatever reason I may have been there, because sometimes I had to go there even though I wasn't working. And so, yeah, there were 3 games on there. One was SimCity, and I mean the old school SimCity. I remember being able to go back and being able to set my civilization on the moon, or having the Wild West times, or even during medieval periods. And so that to me was awesome. Sonic CD. Now, that's not to be confused with the Sega CD game. It was basically, if I remember correctly, like Sonic the Hedgehog or Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on the PC. I still have the game disc for it, which should be on the screen right now. And the game that we wish to discuss today, that's Comix Zone. And I remember spending hours playing this game, and I remember it being very, very hard. And so one day for the channel, I decided, hey, you know what? I just started this channel. There's a game that I need to play for it. I'm trying to figure out what games that I want to play, what's something I'm somewhat familiar with that would make this process a lot easier. And so I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to play Comix Zone. And so I did. And so that's why I want to review it today. All of my reviews, all my retrospectives, I want them to be games I've played for the channel. That way I can give you my thoughts on my experience with them and, my recommendations on whether or not to get the game. Now, Comix Zone, just to give you some basic information, was released in August of 1995 for the Sega Genesis system, and it was also released for PC. If you can't get a hold of the cartridge today, you can still play it on Xbox Live, on the PlayStation Network, or even on Steam. And the game is a basic beat-em-up where you play as Sketch Turner. Now, when we talk about Sketch Turner, I want to talk about something very, very interesting here. Sketch Turner. Look at this guy. Blonde hair, shaved the side of his head, short hair up top, rat tail in the back, jorts, sunglasses, or not really sunglasses, but the circular glasses, the little white jacket and shirt, the way that's done up. Yes, he's your typical 90s punk rocker, because this game, of course, was made in the mid-90s. But what's the story behind this game? All right, not only is he your punk rocker looking type person, he's a starving comic book artist. But not only is he a starving comic book artist, he's a freelance musician. And so Sketch, being starving, is working the midnight oil because of the fact that, of course, he doesn't want to be starving anymore. He's hoping to make something that's going to, put him on the map, make him famous with others. But a storm passes through the city. And out of nowhere, lightning strikes the page that he's working on. And instead of killing Sketch, destroying the paper and the desk that he's working on, instead of setting things on fire, instead of knocking the power out of the building, instead of doing anything of that nature, through the power of electricity and plot, the comic book's villain Mortis comes to life. I don't quite understand that. Lightning strike, Mortis comes to life. It's a video game, okay, people? And it's also the mid-90s. So you don't expect deep exposition or anything of that nature, even though I kind of act like that's what should be going on right now. Mortis crawls out of the panel and tosses Sketch in his place. And while in this comic, Sketch meets up with Alyssa Sai and, "Sup, girl?" finds out that he's Neo, and that he is the only one to fulfill the prophecy and save the day. Easy, right? Well, in order to save the day, there are 3 things that he's going to have to do. First of all, he's going to have to defeat the alien invasion. Secondly, he's going to have to kill Mortis. And thirdly, he's going to have to get the girl. So we've got alien invasion, Mortis, getting the girl. Easy, right? Not quite. Mortis keeps drawing enemies and obstacles in the hopes of killing our hero. And he does this through 6 levels, 3 bosses, and far too many insta-death pits. But thankfully you're not alone in this battle. You've got the help of Roadkill, your trusty pet, your rat. He helps you out in certain situations though. He's useful for finding hidden objects. He's helpful in solving certain puzzles. And pretty much nothing else. You don't expect him to fight as he'll quickly be knocked off the page. Don't place him near a cliff because he'll probably walk right off. Thankfully, he at least has some uses, right? Right? So that's the basic story that you've got right there. You know, simple enough stuff, and you know, it's what you'd expect for a game that was made in the mid-90s. Now again, this game is your basic beat-em-up game, and Sketch combats his enemies with martial arts attacks. You use the directional pad and the A button to use different types of attacks. You can use uppercuts, you can use straight punches, special kicks, and things of that nature. You can even hold the A button to create a paper airplane, which Sketch will use as an attack. And to be honest with you, I didn't even know that you could do this until I did some research for this review. But you got to be careful because not only will Sketch's energy be drained by this plane, but the plane is going to double back towards Sketch, and if you don't duck, it's going to hit you. You use the B button that allows for aerial attacks and jumping from place to place. The C button will block basic enemy attacks. That's of course, your A, B, and C button on the keyboard. That would be your ASD button. Sketch can also carry 3 items at one time with the use of the X, Y, and Z buttons, Q, Y, and E for those on the keyboard. And of course, you can use those items. Sadly enough, Roadkill takes up one of the slots, so unless you want to drop the rat, you'll only be carrying 2 items. That could be your basic health button, that could be the fist, which gives a super-powered area of effect attack, a knife, a grenade, or even a large bundle of dynamite. And there are these question mark blocks. And they might be something helpful, they might be an explosive. I've found that it's probably for the best to avoid these altogether. Alright, so now we're going to take a look at what you're going to go through as you go through the levels of this game very quickly, and I'm going to warn you there's a spoiler alert. The game starts you off in New York City, and for a moment let's appreciate the art style of this game, okay? The entire game takes place within the confines of a comic book. So as such, you're going to be jumping from panel to panel like you're in a comic book, complete with arrows telling you which panel to go to next, just like you would in the comics. And I personally love the art styles of these levels. I think they're wonderfully done color-wise. And in a time where you've got a lot of levels that are like, all right, here's your grass level. Here's your volcano level. Here's your ice level, your water level. And I'm not talking about like just Mario or Sonic the Hedgehog, which really and truly as popular as those are today. Let's be honest, the games back then and even now feature those tropes constantly. Even though they're very well done in the way that they're set up, that's what they are. Here we have, Comix Zone, we've got, the way the levels look, one level, the way it's featured is, well, very post-apocalyptic. There's the Statue of Liberty's head right there in front of you. She's been destroyed. There are damaged buildings in the background. You see the emptiness of the mountain area surrounding, as you're in the Shaolin Temple, where all of Mortis's minions are being trained. Even the desolation of what seems to be a once beautiful ocean, now more of a dry desert, and the ships that are adorning the background rusted and dilapidated. I like the way this game does its background and its color. Again, that's personal opinion. Getting back to the story itself, or what the levels. Despite the protests of Sketch Turner, Alyssa throws us into battle, while she keeps communication with us through a comms link. This leads Sketch Turner down into the sewers to an underground city where enemies are being incubated and birthed. And we even get to meet the mother of these Big Mama Dragons. And she's easy enough to defeat. All you gotta do is stand in a certain spot and she'll never touch you. After defeating her, we are led to the Himalayan mountains, where we are entered into a Kung Fung tournament. And after winning it, we journey deeper into the mountains, and even have to endure a possibility of being burned alive thanks to Mortis, who's burning the page for real. And then we fight Kung Fung himself. And finally, we end up on what seems to be a former seashore. There are grounded ships all around, and even certain crevasses and whatnot where enemies are coming out. And finally, we meet up with the man himself, Mortis. One of the tankers has a nuclear weapon inside of it, and Mortis is there as well. Defeat Mortis, and we may be able to do all three things that we've wanted to do. You may do all three things, Moo? What do you mean by that? You see, Mortis has kidnapped Alyssa, and as you are fighting him, the chamber that she is locked in begins to slowly fill with water. And so the game features two endings. In the bad ending, you don't save the girl. Alyssa dies. And Sketch with sadness returns to the world, and the question is asked, is Sketch going to redraw all of this so that he might have a different ending? Or, if you know how to defeat the boss, and really and truly you can defeat Mortis without taking a hit. There's a lever where you can take that nuclear rocket and you can roast him alive. And then you save Alyssa. And you return to the world having defeated Mortis, and it's you, Alyssa, and Roadkill. Sketch, of course, becomes a famous rock musician and comic book artist. Alyssa becomes one of the greatest soldiers in the American Army. And Roadkill, he gets lots and lots of cheese. Every rat's green. So what are you getting into when you get this game? I think that's an important question. There are three main complaints that I want to mention right now, okay? First of all, and this one really isn't, I would say, a complaint as far as, a complaint we would normally think of one, but I do think it bears mentioning to say that this game is pretty hard. You only have one life, and you can get up to, I think, 2 continues by completing stages. So there is that at the least. You know you still have continues left if Sketch says something along the lines of, is this the end of the story when you get defeated? If not, he pretty much says it's the end of the line. Game over, man. But this does not take away from the difficulty of the game. I mean, there are certain times where you make one small mistake, and I'll explain that more in just a moment, or because you don't have the right item, that a good portion, if not most of your energy is going to be drained, or you end up trying to pick up one of those question marks, and it's an explosive instead of something to help you, and you pretty much end up almost dead at that point. There are some jumps that require so much precision that if you just barely miss it by an inch, game over. Not to mention that one area in the Himalayas that I used to get so mad at when I was younger because of the fact that I would accidentally hit the jump button instead of the attack button, and then I would drop down into a pit and die and have to restart or get a game over. But there are some items or some areas that require a certain item, or else you're going to die, or else you're going to get badly hurt before you can pass. I'm going to be honest, when I did the Let's Play, I had to use save states in certain places so that it wasn't that big of a problem, or hopefully it wasn't that big of a problem. Another thing you need to keep in mind is that the game is short. If I remember correctly, I beat the game for the channel in less than an hour. But again, it's a game from 1995. It's kind of the thing expected back then. The only other real complaint that I have is how Sketch's health is drained by some of the simplest of actions. You break a box, Sketch's energy is drained. You have to break this, Sketch's energy is drained. And I understand that there are certain times where that's has to happen. Hey, there's a huge fan that's running. Sketch punches it, and a chunk of his health is knocked out. I get that. But there are certain instances, like the making of a paper airplane drains Sketch's Sketch's health. I get the idea of stamina and all that, but it just seems ridiculous to me. So, I mean, the three major complaints is the game is hard, and really and truly that's not so much, I know I say a complaint, but that's something that you do need to know about. The game is short, and Sketch's health is drained for most anything that you do. Other than that, the game is decently fun, and I believe it's worth the $2.99 price tag that it's being asked for on Steam. If you're a fan of the old beat-em-up games, I think this game would be a welcome addition to your collection. It's a game that I still like to play from time to time, It's one that when I thought about playing it for the channel, I jumped at the opportunity to do it again, and so I would wholeheartedly recommend this for you. So anyway, this has been Andrew the Moo, and I hope you all have a great day. Next month, we'll probably take a look at a game I recently finished streaming. But I'll see you then. Have a great day. Bye.